Viewers, welcome back to the show. Before the break, we're talking about the decisions of the New South Wales Court of Appeal and High Court. What happened in this case of a marker was that the plaintiff got $326,000. The issue now is, what does a plaintiff have to prove, Nuncio, to win in a case of mesothelioma or lung cancer from asbestos?
Look, this is a great decision because basically, just to break it down for the viewers, it says the court basically accepted that asbestos can lead to mesothelioma or related cancers. And as long as you can show some sort of link from an expert of some sort that you did contract asbestos in that way, then you will succeed. So it's probably a loosening of the test, and I think it's a great thing for plaintiffs.
Well, John, isn't it a fact that these days all you have to show is if you've got the condition and if the place you worked at had asbestos and you've got the expert to say that that could cause it, that's enough? You're sort of backpedaling and they've loosened the test?
The court was clear, Tony. You have to show, all you have to show is that it was a cause.
There was an exposure.
Not the cause, a cause of the cancer. In this case, there were multiple issues of causation. He hadn't worked there that long, and it was two different types of periods. It could have been over years, so causation was problematic, but the court broke it down and said all you have to show is that it was a cause of the injury. And
in one case that I looked at, the plaintiff was in the environment exposed to asbestos for 1 day.
Yes.
And he won.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you really don't need a big exposure.
As long as it's not what the court said, a trivial exposure, then they accept that you can contract asbestos from manufacturers and the like, and that it is accepted.
Look, it's a very insidious disease and condition, and it's very sad and tragic that it's going to extend to a lot of different people these days, not only just workers. There's another interesting case that was decided recently. Who wants to give me the facts of that particular case?
Well, this is a Marker versus King, Tony. It was held in the Victorian Supreme Court. Again, this arose out of conditions that and Mr. King, who lives in Tasmania, I understand, he was exposed for a very short and limited time. Again, over 30, 40 years ago. The jury, Tony, awarded him $1.15 million, $1,150,000. Absolutely fantastic result. $730,000 for general damages. The highest verdict that I know of in Australia for an asbestos-related case. Now, again, the jury was presented with evidence as to how this occurred, and causation was a real issue here. However, the jury found that there was a cause, and Justice Kiro in the Court of Appeal upheld the decision. Interestingly, Tony, the defendant made an application for the jury's verdict to be struck out in this case.
But that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
And Nuncio, the thing about this case is that it is a big verdict for pain and suffering. In South Australia, another fellow got only $115,000 in similar circumstances.
Yeah, look, there's a big divide. So you've got Mr. Booth, who received $326,000. You've got Mr. King, who received $730,000. Look, there's a big divide, and Victoria is sort of leading the way in that regard. But it's a good thing because it's lung cancer, it's deadly, and you can't put a money on that.
Is there a limit on general damages for these?
Not under the Wrongs Act for asbestos-related conditions. It's not. Generally, there is. It's a cap of $371,000 in Victoria, but not for asbestos.
So that's an exception.
It is. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
And John, do you think that you got too much, Mr. King?
No. Look, it is a very high award. However, the court upheld the decision and found, look, it was reasonable that in these circumstances that an award of this size be given. Clearly there is a disparity. Clearly most of the other awards in Australia have been nowhere near as significant.
They made
but didn't the court also say that it's a sign of the times? Inflation?
Look, they did, but they made an interesting comment about they thought 500,000 was probably the appropriate mark, but in the circumstances, the jury was, they found it reasonable for them to come to that decision. So, they thought 500 was probably the mark.
What do you look? A lot of these people that have got mesothelioma, for example, don't survive long after the verdict. Do you think that it's appropriate that they're getting these sort of payouts when they're never going to enjoy it, John?
Well, it's for themselves, it's for their family, Tony. It's compensation for basically they've contracted a disease in the course of employment that has cut their life short. As you know, I recently settled a case for a dying worker with this condition for over $400,000. Now, it was a very expedited, very quick process. You make the application with the Supreme Court, and from the time of taking instructions to the time of settlement, it was approximately 3 to 4 months. Now, that's a great result for a dying worker and his family.
Nuance, what John just said then is critical. This particular plaintiff is 80 years old. His prognosis was 6 months,
Yep.
right? The action took 3 to 4 months. He's probably got 2 months to live, give or take. Expediency is of the essence.
It's that important. It's not funny, Tony, because he said 1 or 2 months can be the difference from you not getting a result. So you've got to get him to the phone straight away.
So let me say this. If he dies, then what?
Well, Tony, the assets pass on to his dependents.
But in terms of a verdict from the court,
No, the action dies with him, Tony.
the action dies.
Exactly, Tony. Yes, you need to make the application and proceed
During
with
your
the
lifetime.
action now. Don't wait because, well, there's not in that time.
No, you
is
don't
not
have a
the
lot of time.
essence.
You don't have a lot of time. Nuncio, what do you want to say to the public about these sorts of cases?
Oh, look, Tony, I'd like to say that it's they're deadly diseases, and look, we hope that they're very few and far between. But the unfortunate reality is that they're not. So, look, if you are, have an asbestos condition, you should contact a lawyer because you do have rights. And despite the fact that you may have contracted it 30, 40 years ago, things can be done for you. And it's the little things that can happen at the last stages in life.
And Tony, the statistics show that these incidences will increase.
Of course. Well, viewers, if you're a home builder, if you're a housewife, a child that was exposed to it by your mother's shaking overalls, if you're working in the naval dockyards or shipping yards or aircraft factories, all these environments where you had exposure to asbestos. So look, if you've got coughing or tightening of the chest, go and have a simple x-ray done. It will show if there's any changes in your lungs. That's the best way to do it. People in that industry should probably do one every 12 months. Viewers, we want to thank you for watching the show. Nuncio, thank you for coming on board.
Thanks, Tony.
John,
viewers.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, viewers.
and please stay tuned for future episodes and always stay safe.